It's now time to invite our second keynote speaker, Mr. Trevor Raymond, CEO, World Platinum Investment Council. As I invite him, a brief introduction. Mr. Trevor Raymond has been the member of the leadership team at WPIC since its launch in 2014, originally leading the organization's global research and investor development team before being appointed as CEO in 2022. Trevor is a precious metal specialist for over 30 years' experience in the equity and metals market with deep experience in gold and platinum mining companies, including roles in corporate finance, marketing, and executive leadership. He has joined WPIC from Anglo American Platinum, where he has led the company's commodity research and market development in London. Prior to this, Mr. Trevor was at Anglo American Platinum, head of investor relations in South Africa. Underpinning his career has been a long commitment to ensuring investors can access the insights necessary to make informed investment decisions and then act using the most appropriate investment products. With this introduction, it's our pleasure to invite Mr. Trevor Raymond, CEO WPIC, to deliver his keynote address.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. It certainly is a privilege to be presenting here. We are proud members of the SBMA, and thank you very much to Albert and his team for giving us this forum. And thank you very much to Dominic Wood for giving an insight into the front end of the business. This is the 7th APPMC conference. It's also 7 years since the World Platinum Investment Council set up our office in Shanghai under the leadership of Wei Deng. And that was to grow platinum investment demand in China. We've extended that to Japan and certainly to ASEAN, and Singapore is a really important component of that development. Before I tell you a little bit about platinum, which I believe has a pivotal point in 2024, the investment case for platinum is probably the most compelling it's been in 10 years, and there are a growing number of platinum investment products available around the world. So two things I'd like to think about is that if somebody is looking to invest in a gold investment product, it's highly unlikely that they will ask the manufacturer or the issuer for investment advice. They already know why they want to own gold. What they do need to know is if they can trust the metal that they're getting, that the margin is good, that it'll be vaulted, and potentially that it'll be bought back. But when someone's considering a platinum investment, they need all those things, but they need a little bit more. They don't know enough about platinum as an investment asset. So we have to make sure that the partners we work with around the world are able to provide two things. One is a platinum investment product, and second, some information. The other thing that I'd like to leave you with is that at the moment, we know that the gold market has done particularly well over the last few years. And right now, gold demand is particularly strong. But that's from two sources. One, new product from mints, but also from people selling gold. There's a lot of people buying and a lot of people selling. And the question I want to pose is, when somebody is selling gold and making a profit, what are they doing with the cash? Most people that own gold own it because they don't want to own anything else. And I certainly think platinum is something that is actually quite an alternative. It's a hard asset. It gives you similar correlation. And I think that is why platinum is perhaps more relevant to many of our partners and hopefully many of you in the room at the moment. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do. And at first, our disclaimer, maybe just 3 points. We are not a registered financial advisor. We are not a broker-dealer. And our research is freely available. So please contact us. It's MiFID II compliant in Europe. Contact us. Use any information on our website should it be useful. So as was said, we set up in 2014, and our role is to develop the global market for platinum investment. And we do that in two ways. Firstly, we provide what we call actionable insights, and that's really just helping investors make more informed investment decisions. And we do that by publishing data, research, and providing insights to help investors make more informed investment decisions. And we engage investors at the retail level right the way through high net worth, wealth, and certainly institutional. And then secondly, if somebody wants to own platinum, we don't want that to be difficult. So we work hard with partners around the world to make sure that platinum investment products are good value for money, are available in the region and the type that are needed, whether that's an exchange-traded fund or a physical bar and coin. We work across a wide range of investor types, a wide range of products. But we are neutral product and we are neutral partner. We want all our partners to do well. Our role is to help them. Their role is to compete with each other. If you look at our funding members, of which Anglo American Platinum is one, Impala Platinum, Northern Platinum, Sedibello, and Teresa are our funding members. And on the right-hand side, you can see the global footprint of the partners that we've built up, firstly starting in Europe, then North America, and since the office in Shanghai, a growing number of partners in the ASEAN, China, and Japan regions. And glad to have our first partner in Singapore on board, Silver Bullion. So what we need to do with those partners is help them understand this investment case. And I'll briefly take you through how we present the investment case to investors, not really trying to bore you with the detail. So I'll go through it fairly quickly. So firstly, people that are considering platinum need to know what it is. It's a metal that can be invested in. It's one of the rarest precious metals, 20 times less annual availability than gold and 100 times less than silver. It's a store of value. It's got important industrial uses. And more importantly, it's a critical metal in the energy transition. So if you look at the chart on the right, you can just see annual production of gold, platinum, and silver. And that does a couple of things. Yes, it's a rare metal, but we've heard a lot today about the infrastructure improvements necessary for gold. Now, with gold, provenance is an issue. Fortunately, platinum is a very complex technical production route, so we don't have a lot of the problems that gold struggle with. Simply put, why invest in platinum? It has strong demand, it's got a shortage of supply, and it's undervalued, and I'll try and unpack a few of those. Firstly, undervalued. If you look at the price of platinum, it's half the price of gold, and in general, that doesn't quite stack up. It's just as precious, and it does some incredibly good things in industrial applications. So I went back to the chart on the right, going back to the turn of the century, and over that 100-year, 120-year period, most of the time, the platinum price was twice the price of gold. And that sort of made sense. It was precious and it did some fantastic things. And it's quite unusual for the platinum price to be below the gold price. And we're sitting in one of those unusual periods for a bunch of reasons. So this undervaluation is interesting and makes the case to consider it fairly compelling for investors. The consequence of that strong demand and shortage of supply is that we're looking at potentially 5 consecutive deficits ahead of us. And that's something that is quite interesting to investors. And those are quite chunky deficits, over 12 tons per annum. There are above ground stocks, and you see in the chart on the top right, those stocks are traditionally already running at historically low levels, and they're being drawn down quite quickly. They're around about 6 months of annual demand, and that really is quite tight. Below that, you can see the ETF holdings that started in 2007. A lot of people treat those ETFs as above ground stocks. But historically, they have proven quite resilient. Even with price decline, those ETFs tend to be strongly held across the board. And we see that continuing. And in fact, with 5 consecutive deficits, it's quite likely that those ETF holdings will go up because a lot of investors that want to position will use that as their mechanism. Turning to just considering the reasons for demand growth and shortage of supply, on the left you can see the 4 demand categories for platinum: automotive, jewelry, industrial, and investment. And you've had some insight into jewelry and industrial already. I think the most important thing is that people thought that the internal combustion engine would go away. Once Tesla had the electric vehicle, battery electric vehicles would dominate. Many countries in Europe were talking about banning internal combustion engines. But the honest truth is that the internal combustion engine is pretty much still here for quite a long time. And I'll try and unpack some of that. The blue area, jewelry, there's been a decline in demand, but that's looking quite resilient, and there's certainly some opportunities, one of which I'll mention on my last slide. But if you look at that pink bar, that is industrial demand growth, and that's grown at nearly double the rate of global GDP growth. And the reason is when you put platinum into a process, it means that you can reduce the energy input and you can increase yield. So many companies that are under pressure from their shareholders to reduce their carbon emissions, platinum provides a very easy solution. If you're making something and you put a bit of platinum into it, it certainly works. So that's why that industrial demand continues to grow. On the right-hand side, you can see that supply is likely to not meet demand for the next 5 years. Supply primarily comes out of South Africa, dominates over 70% of global supply, and that is struggling because of margins and many other aspects of it. But the real big one at the moment is recycling supply. So of the 8 million ounce market, or 250 tons, some 2 million of that comes from the recycle of mainly autocatalysts when vehicles reach the end of their lives. Now, we know during COVID, a lot of vehicles weren't manufactured, and subsequent to that, we had a semiconductor chip shortage. There were 33 million passenger vehicles that weren't produced, and that meant that people are driving their used vehicles a lot longer. Cars have become a lot more reliable. They used to last maybe 100,000 kilometers. They're now expected to last 200 to 250. So there's a shortage of the supply of recycled catalysts, and that's why supply is under threat as well. Just turning back to vehicles for a second, the growth of battery electric vehicles has been quite spectacular. But if you look at the chart on the left, in all three major markets, that growth in battery electric vehicle penetration has slowed down significantly. People are worried about range, about infrastructure, and about recharging. So we can see the chart in the middle that the battery electric vehicle growth in Q1 24 was down to about 7%. But the hybrid growth in the middle has gone up significantly to about 38%. And that's really the combination of using an internal combustion engine as well as a battery electric vehicle. And there's a thing called an extended range electric vehicle that basically is a battery electric vehicle with a much smaller battery, and we know that battery materials are in short supply, with an internal combustion engine that charges the battery. And that really works as a transition technology. Ultimately, fuel cell removes fossil fuels from the entire supply chain, but that would be an interim technology. And then lastly, the chart on the right is assumed to be declining. And if you'd seen the significant reduction in the palladium price, people assumed that gasoline vehicles would have been lost to battery, and that hasn't occurred. So that actually, the combination of the dark blue and the light blue, or dark green and light green, that demand is still quite strong for quite some time. And then lastly, in terms of demand growth, as has been mentioned, platinum is used in electrolyzers to make green hydrogen, and that green hydrogen can be used in a fuel cell vehicle. And if you do make green hydrogen from wind or solar power and put it through a fuel cell vehicle, not only are your emissions zero, but you've removed fossil fuels from the supply chain, and that's a big deal. So for a metal like copper or nickel to have a brand new demand segment is unusual. Platinum's got this demand segment that will grow over the next 2 decades. And for somebody in China, or anywhere really, saving for their retirement, what is the need for this metal over 20 years, and will platinum be worth more in 20 years' time? That's a really big deal and quite important to people with a long-term investment horizon. And that's really platinum's store of value. So, do investors care? Well, platinum's been in a pretty miserable range-bound price for the last 3.5 years for a bunch of reasons. But it really still has outperformed. If you look at the chart on the left, that is ETF holdings, including gold, silver, and platinum. And we know as global inflation went up, but more importantly, as the interest rates went up, central bank interest rates, gold and platinum are non-yielding assets, and you would expect them to perform badly in a high interest rate environment. And we've heard a lot about that relating to gold this morning. But if you look at the performance of platinum, the blue line at the top, indexed back to 100 when the pandemic started, platinum's outperformed in around about 2021, and certainly at the moment. And if you look at the chart on the right, over the last 2 quarters, we've seen several $100 million go into the ETF holdings, and we haven't seen that for about 5 years. So investors have sat up and taken notice of the fact that this metal does seem to be significantly undervalued, and the fundamentals don't seem to reflect what's going on in the market. Similarly, in the physical side, as I mentioned, we opened in 2017 our Shanghai office under Weiban, and we've been fortunate enough to grow demand in China significantly. It's grown from almost nothing, and last year it was over 160,000 ounces. The numbers that are quoted in purple, those we published in our quarterly during London Platinum Week in May, and certainly that's being re-looked at, and we should reflect those grey bars as well. So we've managed to grow this business mainly through the partners, many of whom used to make platinum jewelry in the Shenzhen area. They're now making platinum bars, very attractive designs from 1 gram up to 1 kilogram. And those are the partners that we really thank and we're working very closely with. And if any of you believe that platinum could form part of your business, please, we're here to help you. So what have we achieved since our office in 2017? China is still the largest consumer of platinum in the world. We've been instrumental in setting up Shanghai Platinum Week. We have a growing number of strong regional partners. We have the JBMA in Japan helping us grow that contact of partners and distribute the awareness. And then SBMA is bolstering our efforts in the Asia region, APAC region. We've got a growing spread of investors and certainly different types and ages. And a lot of the young people that are investing in platinum have identified the fact that platinum is going to be a very instrumental part of global decarbonization. And that's quite important to the younger investors. Just briefly on Shanghai Platinum Week, which will be its fourth event this year. Last year was the first in-person event. I can remember being in Singapore 2 years ago where we weren't allowed to have a buffet. Is that we had, yes, 1,200 delegates, but the fascinating part is that there was 180,000 online viewers. Now, I didn't believe that data. I kept saying, are these page impressions? If somebody was on for 2 minutes, no, these were actual online live streaming viewers, an average residence time of about 7 hours and 20 minutes. And the reason is that Shanghai Platinum Week isn't just about investment or about platinum. It's about anybody in China that touches the entire platinum group metal complex. And that is a huge group of people, and that's what they're busy doing at the moment. So we invite you to attend it next year and join us. We think our reputation will further grow platinum investment. Through our 33 partners, we've generated incremental demand of over 2.5 million ounces. Shanghai Platinum Week is now embedded in the global calendar. And the most important thing that we've done, we work with the supply chain to improve things. And the Guangzhou Futures Exchange in Q4 will be listing a platinum and a palladium future. This is groundbreaking for China. People in China were unable to hedge their price risk, and we think that's impacted industrial use and jewelry significantly. So we see those futures unlocking both investment demand, but certainly could see a resurgence in jewelry and most definitely in the industrial arena. We look forward to working with you, and we welcome more of you as partners. And thank you very much for your time.